when we were talking about this session, we wanted to find examples across the state that illustrate the pinnacle of partnership and collaboration, getting everyone aligned and working together on what arguably is one of the most important challenges that we face. Now, in the slideshow, you've seen numbers that have been up here about the projects that we've announced and the jobs that they represent and the capital investment. And I will say that we've had a really good week this week with Bridgestone, and then most recently today, Audix USA announcing an expansion. So that actually equates to over 670 projects that we've had under management since Governor Haslam came into office. That represents close to 84,000 jobs and over $15 billion in capital investment. That's great. And we have had the privilege of working with every one of the companies that's represented on this panel today. But we can't do it without our strong partnerships. And many of you in this audience represent that strong bond that we have. And we also can't do what we do without the strong support of our legislature. And workforce has obviously been a pain point, but also an opportunity for our industry. And our legislature has heard that loud and clear, and they have given us a number of tools to be able to address that. Much of that was led by Senate Majority Leader Mark Norris with his landmark legislation called LEAP, and I do know what that acronym stands for. I know many may not, but it's Labor Alignment Education Program. And thank you, Leader, for being here and for all that you've done. That is enabling legislation that pulls us all together, especially at the state level, where you have a number of different departments that have to come together to work on this and be attentive to what we at our department hear from industry directly. So we're proud of those numbers, and we understand the importance of that capital investment that these companies are essentially putting at risk, right? They're investing in Tennessee. We have to deliver on that. We have to deliver with a workforce that is ready to go. So we're going to talk about some of the stories that are shining examples of how these companies are working with their partners across the state to get things going. It is my privilege to introduce our moderator for today. Our strongest partner at the department is Commissioner Phillips. He is a strong advocate for what we do, and we couldn't be more proud to have him on this panel moderating and as a partner to us. Now I'm going to read his bio. They think, well, this is not comedy hour. I mean, it's a legitimate bio. Okay. All right.
Just tell him I'm a boy from Murfreesboro.
All right, he's a boy from Murfreesboro.
That's it.
Back in 19, never mind. All right. Now, Governor Haslam named Commissioner Phillips to the leadership of the Department of Labor and Workforce Development back in January of 2013. Prior to coming to the department, Commissioner Phillips was Managing Director in the Department of Finance and Administration, overseeing customer-focused government initiatives administration-wide. Burns brings both public and private sector experience to this interim role, quoted Governor Haslam, and he appreciates his willingness to take on these responsibilities as we continue to focus on serving the citizens of Tennessee, and he does so admirably. Early in his career, Commissioner Phillips worked in the budget office of F&A before going into the private sector, where he worked in medical sales and marketing. In '91, he founded a surgical instrument company that conducted business in the United States and 30 other countries. In 2009, he returned to state government to serve as Transportation Administrative Director in TDOT and has both his bachelor's and master's degrees from Middle Tennessee State University and earned a law degree from the Nashville School of Law. Ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Burns Phillips.
I think I'm mic'd up, right? Yeah. Thanks, Ted. You know, this is a real honor and a privilege to be involved in this panel because of the importance of workforce development. So I think you're going to hear a lot of really creative and innovative ways to solve problems in that area. Let me start at the far end. You've got Jeff McCord, who is Vice President for Economic and Workforce Development at Northeast State at Kingsport. I think he's down there. I can't see him. There you are. Uh, you have Linda Lewis also there, and she's with the director. She's the Director of Operations Support Services and Global Quality at Eastman Chemical Company. And next we have John Churchill. He's Executive Director of Workforce Development at Southwest Tennessee Community College. Next to him is Bernadette Fuller, Director of Human Services at Unilever, the biggest ice cream maker in the world. Then you have Kim Ketchum. She is the Director of Corporate Business Development at Magneti Marelli. And next to her, you have Jan McKeel. She is the Executive Director South Central Tennessee Workforce Alliance, and one of my pals. And next to me, you have Jamie Place. She's Education Policy Analyst with the Governor's Office. Now, before each of these groups address some questions that were posed to them, I'd like to say that first and foremost, we all know that Commissioner Haggerty is leaving, and I'll say that nobody understood the importance of workforce development more than he and his team. He understood the concept of partnership, which is also part of this panel. He reached out to us, his team reached out to us, labor and workforce development. That's a lot of people forget about that part of the title. And he reached out and embraced us, and we in turn them. And our teams have worked very closely together the last 18 months. We are there to support them when they bring new businesses or trying to recruit new businesses here. We're there to help determine what the workforce might be that that particular company needs, and then try to make sure that either those individuals are available, or if there's some way that training can be provided through our partners, we try to make that happen too. And Bill will say that the most important thing to businesses coming to Tennessee today, one of the very first questions they ask is, tell us about your workforce. That's the very first thing. And so it's extremely important that Tennessee have a strong workforce development system. Everywhere you go across the nation, workforce development is a topic of discussion. It's a critical topic of discussion because there are problems with the workforce across the country. You hear about the problem that there's not the technical skills gap. You hear about soft skills being a problem. And those things have to be addressed. When we talk to business, and we speak to businesses across the state, and we've spoken to about 1,000. Our department, and of course ECD, spoken to as many certainly. One of the first things they say is that what we need first and foremost in a workforce are those individuals who have soft skills, which includes a lot of things. You can break it down to saying that we need somebody that knows they're supposed to be at work on time, dress a certain way, respect their fellow workers, respect their business or their place of business, bring value to the business by being able to think critically, to actually contribute to the company. They also need to be able to work as a team, incredibly important these days. Nothing gets done by one person. It's got to be a team no matter what you're doing. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand how to do. So businesses say that we need those things first and foremost as a foundation. We need for them to have basic technical skills in addition to that. And they want a program like that can be taken across the state, because soft skills are the same everywhere you go. And basic mechanical skills, especially in manufacturing, they're pretty much going to be the same too. So some of the folks up here are working on just that concept, and they'll talk about that, I think. Experience is something else that business says that they need. And so we have to be creative because business and industry is evolving. Technology is changing the way that the business is done. And they have to. I read, and I think this is true, that between 1800 and 1900, the knowledge base of mankind doubled. Between 1900 and 1945, it doubled again. Today, it doubles every 2 years. Well, obviously, that's reflected in the workplace. It's reflected in manufacturing, and it's reflected in the needs of employees that work for companies, especially manufacturing. So experience is very important. We have to be able to figure out ways to provide a workforce that understands the workplace. So we have to look at things like OJT, internships, and things of that nature. Because it's evolving, workforce development has to evolve. And we're trying to do that as rapidly as we can. But whatever we do, we have to do as a group, we have to do as a team. That means education, ECD, labor and workforce development, K-12, and business. Business has to be in it too. All the pieces to make sure that we have the workforce that our businesses and industries need are here. And all of them work very hard. But sometimes we're just not on the same road. So we're trying to get there, and we're getting there. Everybody understands that. The stakeholders do. And it's a fun place to be because everybody knows that. They recognize that. And everybody's trying to come together to work toward one common goal. And the one thing that might be missing now is that a system like that has to be data-driven. You know, in business and life and anything, if you make a decision that's not based on information or data, it's really just a guess. And even worse, if that guess is made on an assumption. So everything that is done, especially in trying to increase the skill of our workforce, has got to be based on data. And all the players understand that. And so we have to take data that identifies what is needed in any particular region, county, whatever, in terms of what type of occupations are needed, how many are needed. And then we have to look and see, does that match up with what we're producing out of our educational system? Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But we're all working to try to get that focus so that we know that whatever we produce and whatever stakeholder produces it is producing an individual with the skill sets that will lead him to or her to employment. So that is a very important part, that we have a system that is data-driven, collaborative, cohesive, so that we're all working on the same goal, going down the same path, just like the coach talked about this morning. Everybody has to understand the role. Everybody has to understand what value they bring to the team. And I think Tennessee is going to be way ahead of all of our competitor states because we recognize that, and business recognizes that, and some of these folks will talk about that. So having said all that, each of these teams, your teams, we're given some questions. And so what we thought we'd do is, first of all, just let each one speak to the questions, and they're talking about that they may have had a problem, how they assessed what the problem was, how they gathered resources to solve that problem, what the success was. So we'll just start at the far end and yeah, you're still here. Yeah, let Jeff and Linda talk about their collaboration.
Thank you very much. We actually thought we were going to be third, so caught us a little by surprise, but that's okay. So I'd like to start our story by talking a little bit about our Eastman Chemical plant site. And our challenge, which was one of both a demographic bubble issue and one of growth. Our Kingsport plant site has about 3,500 skilled workers. These are the chemical operators who run our highly complex plants and the mechanics who maintain our operations. And we call these advanced manufacturing jobs. And as we have looked at our workforce over the last several years, we have seen year after year after year, the potential retirement in our workforce represents about 25 to a third of our workforce. So we have 25 to 33% people who are retirement eligible. And we have started to see that transition as knowledge and experience leaves our company, especially over the last few years. But knowing this was coming, we needed to do something to help bring new people into those highly skilled jobs who could learn and grow in our businesses. And so that was one of our issues. Our second issue, which is a good problem to have, is one of growth. our company has been growing and expanding, and in the late 2007, we announced about a $1.5 billion reinvestment in our Kingsport plant site and followed that up with another announced $1 billion asset for growth and infrastructure and new businesses last year. So we're creating new jobs. So how did we meet that challenge? Our approach was to form a partnership to really help build and grow our advanced manufacturing workforce. With support from economic and community development, our partnership with Northeast State, and a partnership with local industries, we formed a regional partnership that we call the Advanced Manufacturing Partnership. And we have 3 stated goals: to support the needs of our existing industries in the region, to attract and develop a pipeline of future workers, and to help support economic development. So I'm going to transition to my left and let Jeff tell our story from there.
And so out of that partnership was formed what is called the Regional Center for Advanced Manufacturing, RCAM is how we brand it. And RCAM, some unique things about RCAM, you'll see these kind of technical centers around the state, but there's 2 unique things about RCAM. One is RCAM leverages academic programs primarily. And so we leverage the academics for workforce development, and for those who are on the community college side, they'll know a lot of times that's done with non-credit programs. So we are a supplier of Drive to 55 before Drive to 55 was cool, pushing that out. And we see some intrinsic benefits from there. So that's one of the things that we do is leverage those academic programs. And the second thing is it's an open facility. And so it's not, even though it's industry aligned, it's not industry affiliated. And so anybody can take courses at RCAM. What we see is usually our incumbent workers during the day and our non-incumbent workers during the night. And so 2 things to that model which makes it unique. And we have the ability to do that because of partnerships like Eastman, who saw the desire to build that pipeline of skilled workers, not just for Eastman, but for the region. And our other major industry partner, Domtar Paper Company, saw the same thing. And so we were asked resources. Well, of course, financial resources certainly help. It's a 26,000 square foot facility, so not overly huge. The paper company, Domtar, donated the land to make that possible. The key resource that we needed was subject matter experts. And so the first part of the project, in addition to building the facility, was to meet with the subject matter experts hours and hours and hours. And out of that, we developed 2 certificates from the community college. I believe the number is 450 lab instruction hours that we used, that we never would have been able to do that without the expertise of our industry partners, primarily Eastman, with that. The timeline that we had, we started construction in 2008. We opened in the fall of 2009 with classes, so relatively aggressive timeline. I do want to say that we have the Advanced Manufacturing Partnership, and so it's like a skills panel plus community development, because on the other part of our partners, in addition to ECD and our 2 industry partners, and we've added more industry partners as well, we have our Chamber of Commerce there as well as the city. So all of those, we come to the table monthly to talk about what we're doing, how we're doing, what we're teaching, and how we can leverage those partnerships to drive more students and really economic development to the region. Surprises, we were asked about some surprises, and there were a few along the way. I think 2 primarily. One is the intrinsic value of having that academic certificate. The employees actually do like to walk across the stage, and then all of a sudden, mom or dad or grandmom or granddad you're not a first generation college student anymore, and we feel like that ripples through the community to bring that Drive to 55 mantra to life. Also, I think it's when we meet, we always have our career services folks. Commissioner Phillips mentioned internships and that sort of partnership as well, and they are integral. And I don't think we thought that at first, to have those those career service folks there at the table with us, but having them there was a surprise and a good surprise as far as the benefit goes. I don't have any bad surprises. I'm not going to say any bad surprises in front of all these people anyway. We talk about those in private. Okay, so what are the results? Since 2009, we at RCAM has participated, been a major contributor to 400 completions. So that's either a certificate or degree. I would guess by this time next year, because we're accelerating, we'll have around 600 since we opened. Most importantly, industry partners are very happy with us, providing the qualified workforce. We're bringing more and more through our outreach, especially outreach to middle schools, getting interest in these kind of STEM, technical related, advanced manufacturing related careers, which is, again, a community development mindset change for counselors and high school teachers and that sort of thing to talk about this path, this very, very good path that we have here. 2.5 times enrollment since we've opened the door. Our job placement rates are right at 100% for non-incumbent workers. So we need to get bigger, and we're in the process of doing some expansion planning as we speak. As far as ongoing, we meet monthly. I see Linda a lot. Sometimes she's not this nice when we have things to talk about. Mostly she is, but it's good. We improve as a community college because of these partnerships. It kind of ripples through the whole college, customer solution orientation. We have visited with quite a number of people. There's literally hundreds of people who've been to RCAM and seen the model and seen the facility, and we're happy to host. At any time, we were given a lot of help when we started, benchmark help, and we feel like we owe that to others too. And so I would just conclude and say that's our story.
John, Bernadette, I know y'all have a lot to say.
Well, good afternoon. My story doesn't start so calmly because it actually starts with crisis. In 2011, in May, the largest contract brewer in the U.S. moved to Memphis. As an HR director, part of my challenge was to put together a team. And brewing beer making skills are very specific because it's very sophisticated equipment. When we made the announcement that they were coming into the city, we got over 30,000 resumes for the positions that we had. We only had 200 positions. After going through about 2,000 of those resumes, interviewing hundreds of people, I had hired 35 people, okay? So the rigor had to come from somewhere because the goal is, I knew that if I had to get 200 people to make beer, it takes at least 8-10 weeks to get people just to a point where they can understand the concepts of brewing beer. Very frustrating. As a matter of fact, after going through that, I was actually getting ready to go to St. Louis, the place where the competitor beer maker is, and see who I could recruit, because hopefully in that city there were people that had good technical skills. It just so happens a very good friend of mine sits on the board of Southwest, and I was at my wit's end. And she actually called a meeting with both mayors, with some other leaders in the city, including the president of Southwest, Senator Tate. Senator Norris, your schedule didn't allow you to show up that day, but they allowed me to vent my frustrations. I actually brought resumes to show them, this is what I'm speaking of. Doesn't mean that there weren't good people in the city by any means. There were no skills with those people in Tennessee at that time. So Mayor Wharton asked 2 questions. Number one, he really didn't have a clear understanding of what that meant, okay? So by looking at what I was looking at, it gave him a perspective, a different one, as a matter of fact. The other thing, he looked at me and this man next to me, who I'd never met before, and he said, so what are you gonna do about it? And I thought that was kind of weird question for him to ask me. But John has been in operations, and he'll talk about him in a minute. He asked me the question, so tell me what skills are missing. Tell me what those integral pieces are that you're not seeing. And of course, I had sheets and sheets and sheets, okay? Both behaviors and skills that were missing, okay? So we got together and created this process, if you will. And for me in industry, it was about having a program that addressed soft skills, because some of those people I was seeing just really didn't understand what is just the normal code of business. What are some of those things that businesses look for? In our case, my customers interact with employees. We're making their products, so they have every right to walk through and communicate with the people, okay? So what are those basic things on the soft side? As well as we needed a process that could address mechanical aptitude. And there needed to be a way that we can measure that, okay? Not just understanding that or saying that people are mechanically inclined or have capability. And so with John and the team, and I have to say this, because typically the world of academia, no, nothing against that, but typically they plan and plan and plan. Those of us in industry, it's about getting it done, turning it around quick. I didn't have time to do pilots, 10 years out. That was not what the challenge was. But I'll give it to the Southwest team. We met the last week of October in 2011, and we worked through the entire week, holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas. I talked to John on Christmas Day. To get the curriculum ready. And we actually start teaching the first IRT class, the two of us, the first week in January. Our goal was to prove concept. Good people just need a little help. There's a curriculum that had soft things in them. So what does the average person need to understand about being employed? Come to work every day, you wear your clothes a certain way. Those basic things, personality things, right? Behavioral. And then also just the basic skills. What is the basic machine? What logic is applied there? Simple things, right? In a mechanized environment, there's got to be some logic. And the fact of the matter is, most people, the most technical they are is to put their key in their ignition and turn it over, right? That's it. Doesn't mean anything bad. It just means they haven't had the experiences yet. And so John and team, the Southwest team, did a phenomenal job. I think we taught 11 pilot classes. The measure of success, though, wasn't just those scores coming out of those classes, right? Because we had a mechanical assessment, so the mechanical aptitude assessment that gave us a snapshot in time of can somebody be trained, okay? It was also the CRC and those cognitive skills that people need. The career readiness certificate, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm a scientist, so acronyms are always there. And so the first thing is we could demonstrate, okay, that the industry has a standard of what those should be, and if people meet that standard, okay, then they should be employable and can be trained. And then we tracked, once they were hired, and I hired most of the ones from those 11 classes, and then we tracked how long did they stay employed. Because the real kicker is, most of us in industry, we would hire people, invest in training, and I would lose them for one reason or the other 6-8 months down the road. And so it was just a turnover of constant dollars going into training, effort going into training, and then they were going straight back out. So we wanted to make sure that we gave the person with the best chance of becoming a brewer, if you will, the opportunity. And then we wanted to see, okay, if true success is we got a person with the best capability and that was willing to be employed. And then we actually tracked how long they stayed employed after that fact. And actually, we had over a 90% success ratio with those folks. And then that's what we took back to the mayors and his team to show, here is proof of concept. We have good people in our community. They just need a little help. And so I'll let John talk about the process itself.
All right, first thing that I'd like to talk about is the results. Bernadette talked a little bit about the results. The first class she hired out of the 19 we trained, she hired 17 of them. And we could not have done this without the team at Southwest, her team at Blue City Brewery, but also the college president that had enough faith in the process where he allowed me to do the first 4 classes without any funding whatsoever. I spent a lot of his money getting this thing started up, buying equipment, training people. But he had enough faith in it where he allowed us to do that until we did have that proof of concept. Then we had the WIN partnership, Workforce Investment Network. But after about the 3rd class, the owner of Blue City Brewery came down, and this is a story that she didn't tell you and she should have, is he came down, walked out on the floor, came back to Bernadette and said, there's something different. The employees are happy, they're walking around, everything seems great. And she put a smile on her face, says, you go out there and interview some of them and just talk to the ones and bring back the names of the ones that you think are different. When he came back, she explained about the IRT program. That moment, he said, I want the starting salary raised $2 an hour because they're out there, they're hitting the ground running. I'm talking to the supervisors, and they are bringing value to our company and raised the starting salary by $2 an hour. So that's one success story. Another success story, a new company called Unilever moved into Memphis. And they needed, so far I think we've trained over 400 folks for them. But the first class was in December 2012, and they needed about 60 people. We had 75 people in the 3 classes. They had operations manager, plant manager, maintenance and engineering manager, HR managers, all would come out and visit the class. This class, one of the most important success factors is the companies come out and observe the employees. I can fool you in an interview, but if I've got an interactive class where I've got to be who I am 4 hours a day, 3 days a week for 4.5 weeks, I can't fool you. And our folks tell us they not only know who they want to hire, but where they're going to put them, where they'll be the most successful. So after the class, or about 3/4 through the class, Unilever's comment was to us, and this wasn't just one person, this was them as a group, said Memphis has the best workforce we have ever seen in any city we're in. We wished our current employees had the enthusiasm and the excitement that our Memphis workforce has. Now, when's the last time you heard that about Memphis? So that was another success factor that we were very proud of.
Let me tell a story.
Wait.
Because that's when I went to Unilever, by the way, during that time. And with truth, because he's right. Unilever decided to, Slim Fast went away. It was a startup of ice cream. Make sure you buy Breyers, Klondike, or Popsicle. And it was. There again, we are the largest, well, I'll say I'm almost number 1. We're the 2nd largest ice cream company in the world. About to become the largest, that's right. Very sophisticated technology, very proud people to be there. There again, talking about skill set, and of course, everybody's lean, right? You don't go, nobody has, the brewery, to start, quite frankly, had way too many people, okay, because the skills were low, so you had 3 to do 1, right? That is not the world of today. Upskilling is, right? And so with Unilever, having gone through the process with the brewery, we knew exactly how we were going to pull it off, right? That means that we were going to go out, source with our preferred method of hiring through the IRT process. Because what we understood is a person had a mechanical aptitude, right? So we could train them, and they had the understanding of what normal things to expect in terms, or good expectations of in terms of what employment is, okay? So we had those 2 things. And as a matter of fact, we're getting ready to embark on the next level. It's about upskilling to the next level, right? Multi-skilled technicians and things like that. So giving employees a different opportunity to upskill themselves, building talents and skills where they become or have a totally different perspective, true business partners. Not only are we teaching them technical skills, but we will also teach them business skills. So when I say business partner, not only do they have stock in the company, they own stock in the company, they truly understand what their role is and how they impact So I'm pretty excited that Southwest is going to partner with us again to do that. Those classes will be taught on site. So they've been wonderful in that, so that we can actually verify skills as well as make the value proposition a little bit different for my employees.
And the last thing I'll say, and give the mic over to you guys, is the surprises. And these are two surprises that are very important. First of all, since this class started in January 2012, we have trained and put to work almost 900, it's over 800, almost 900 folks that would never have been looked at. Most of these folks are unemployed or underemployed in underserved neighborhoods. They would have never, ever been looked at by these companies. Those were the resumes sitting on the table that they would not even be looked at. We're very proud of that. Now, because they go to class together and become, and it's a very interactive class, many of them become lifelong friends. They get hired in groups. What happens is when Bernadette hires 10 people off the street, she's hiring 10 individuals. They have a car problem, they're gone. They have a babysitter problem, they're gone. You know, one of the biggest reasons why many of these folks do not stay at the job is attendance. All right, what we found, and it was a big surprise, is that when they come as a cohort like that, they have a car problem, they've got somebody they can go to. They've got a child problem, somebody yells at them at work and they get their feelings hurt, they got somebody they can talk to that'll encourage them. So that was the first surprise we had, is the retention was just out of sight because they were hired almost like a small family. The companies found out these people already were working within a team. They just had to integrate them into the company's team. Then the last thing is Sally gets promoted over at Electrolux. She sends out an email saying, hey, I just got hired as a supervisor. She gets at least 30 emails congratulating her because the IRT graduates are started to connect with one another. So instead of having a network of friends that try to say, hey, you're better than us, you know, and try to maybe drag her down, all of a sudden, they have a network of friends that are encouraging success. And those two surprises, would like to say that we were smart enough to know that was going to happen, but we weren't. But those have been two huge surprises.
Great. I appreciate it, Don, Bernadette. Another success story. Great. Kim, Jan?
Well, Bernadette and John, that's a great story. I hate having to follow you guys, but we're going to give it a shot. You've ever heard the old cliche, be careful what you ask for, you just might get it? Well, back in 2009, 2008, and 2009, I worked with the company that I worked for, Magneti Morelli. We're an Italian-based company, and we had an expansion that we wanted to put in the state of Tennessee. And after all the deal was done, sometimes I kind of got mixed up of who I worked for. Did I work for the state of Tennessee or did I work for Magneti Morelli? But they reminded me real quick, my team did. But after we got the deal complete, my CEO looked over at me and he says, can you get the people? And I said, yes, that's not going to be a problem at all. Well, we're talking about hiring, we committed to 750 people. Well, we started hiring in late 2013. We've just been about 16, 18 months, Jan, and we're now at 850, where we said we were going to be at 750, and we've got 800 more to go by the end of 2016. So we've got a huge growth spurt in front of us. So we kind of sat back and we took a look at what our challenges have been in our first spree of hiring. And, of course, there has been some. And, you know, so we said, what can we do to improve that? We're doing all the partnerships with the TCATs. We're working with Jan and her group, and we're going to show you how that connects here in just a few minutes. But when we started looking back at our applicants to see who was missing from our applicant pool, and it was the youth from the age of 18 to 21, we weren't getting very much interest in coming to industry-related jobs. So what we decided to do, and ours is a little bit more practical as far as our success story, but you've heard of the KISS method, kind of keep it simple. That's what we decided to do. We took the lead as industry, and we called our local school system, and we said, hey, we want to partner with you because we're not getting any of the youth interested in industry-related jobs. Why is that? Well, after we interviewed a few and we went and we talked to the high schools, first of all, they thought it was dirty. They thought it was not very high tech. They didn't have any idea what kind of jobs were connected to industry. So there was a lot of myth, and we've all heard that, of industry-related jobs. So we said, okay, our first year, we're going to partner with our local education group, and we brought a team of people together. It was myself representing McNetty Morelli. We were kind of being selfish and holding it close to us because we needed to hire a lot of people going forward for sustainability. And we brought both of the principals. We only had 2 high schools in our county. So we brought both of the principals to the table. We brought the director of the school system to the table. We got Jan at the table for South Central Workforce Alliance. And we said, okay, let's just brainstorm and decide what we were going to do. So kind of what was the approach that we used to, our first year, our goal was to dispel myths in manufacturing. We wanted kids to want to apply to industry-related jobs. And if you think about the technical jobs, we're a global company. So our engineering base, all of our managers, we can kind of support that by pulling people from our other entities until we graduate that skill base from the technical schools that were already on board. Our colleges were doing the right things. Our TCATs were putting the right programs in. So the technical side was being taken care of. But if you look at our employment, we're manufacturing. We could just about teach everybody the skill that they would need if they had good soft skills or if they had an interest to come to work for us. So we were looking at a base that didn't necessarily have to have any advanced education past high school, but then if they had that interest, they could grow in technical jobs within our company. So that was the skill base that we were looking at and saying, hey, we want you to apply. So this is what we did. The first year, which was last year, 13-14 school year, we went to all the high schools. I got 11 people from inside our company. We took HR people, I took IT people, I took some engineers, I took some production technicians with us, maintenance guys, process techs, quality managers, quality technicians, and the principals got all the kids in the auditorium of both schools, and we just stood up on the stage and talked to them about what kind of jobs there were in industry-related fields. You ask a high school student, a junior, would you like to work in logistics? No. I don't know what logistics is, or, IT, or, even HR, the kind of fields, payroll or finance. They had no idea that jobs like that even existed because they haven't been thinking. And so we went and we talked to them, and we had a lot of interaction. They asked a lot of questions. And then the second thing we did was we put some interns at work immediately. And Jan's going to interject here a little bit because I committed to put 4 interns to work immediately. So I spent the plant manager's money. And I said, yeah, we'll put some interns to work. Let's do it. So then I committed to it, and I called Jan. I said, Jan, I just spent some labor dollars. It's not mine to spend. And I said, do you have any money that you can give us? So then she passed it down to Commissioner Burns. But anyway, and that's kind of the partnership and the people sitting around the table, and that they know that you're doing some things. So we did that. We put some interns to work because we thought we get the kids in the building because, remember, they thought it was dirty. They thought it was low tech. And, as the vehicle evolves, and I work in automotive, so does our manufacturing processes. And, so they had no idea that we were clean like we were, and that we had a lot of robotics and things were interesting to them. We could do some things that the kids would, hey, I may want to do that job one day. If we got them in the plant and we showed it to them, they kind of started thinking, I may want to do that one day. So anyway, we did tours. One of the things that was really great that we did last year or this summer was we hosted a summer camp. So we had 30 students that we selected. We had it Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and they were from both of the high schools in the county. And the first day, on Thursday, we just taught them some simple continuous improvement tools, like waste elimination, labor management, and things of that nature. And then we took a small production line, and we had our real operators running it. We kind of messed it up a little bit, and then we had them apply the tools that we taught them and to fix the line and then present to us their corrections. And, you know, I needed that as much as they needed to kind of do hands-on things, because it really kind of revitalized my faith in the youth, because they were so brilliant in some of the ideas that they came up with. I really underestimated them. They even came up with some things that our engineers had never even thought of, and we used a couple of their ideas. So they presented to us on the third day. We had an awards day, and we let them invite their parents to the awards day. We invited all of our elected officials in our city, and Jan came and supported us from South Central Workforce. And they got up, did the presentation. We had an opportunity to take the parents through the plant. So the more people that we could get in the plant to tour, and the reason why I'm emphasizing that is industry has a responsibility to dispel that myth as much as anybody. You know, we can't sit back, and I'm speaking from industry standpoint, we can't say, okay, Jan, what are you going to put out for me? Or TCATs of the world, what are you doing for me? Or, you know, we have responsibility to partner with all of you guys in the state to do our part. And that's having our house clean and making it a place where the youth will want to come to work. And, you know, that's very, very important. So that's kind of how our whole process looked like. And what am I leaving out, Jan? The summer camp. So we're doing it again this year. Last year we were dispelling myths in manufacturing. This year we've got another session planned, and we're doing our theme this year is Closing Skills Gap. So since our partnership last year, we got the Principles of Manufacturing classes reinstated in our school system for the pathways. We're looking and talking to industry in our area to buy some equipment and some hands-on tools that we can actually place in the manufacturing classes. So we're moving forward, and we're doing our part to kind of excite the youth. And our theme, and the reason we're doing this, is so that we can fill the pipeline. So I'll let Jan talk a little bit.
Great. Okay, Jan, you got 30 seconds.
30, I can do it.
No.
Yeah, right.
That's impossible with you.
That is. He knows I have to stop. Just a couple of points to tie in with what Kim was talking about, and I'm going to just sort of smatter around. The cool thing is with a partner like Magnetti, like Kim's company, is that I know that they are investing their time and money. So it's about so much more than the money, because if it was just the money, it wouldn't last. And it's the relationships that come from it. We could talk about, just sitting here, I was thinking, oh man, which one do we talk? We could talk about 4 or 5 different projects that we've had that attack different crises or problems that come up. But with the internship piece of it, which, by the way, she has already made that call about this year, so get ready, your phone's going to ring too. But the cool thing with that, the timing was perfect on the internships when she calls, because at that time, Commissioner had been out and listening to a lot what was going on, and had actually come up with a pilot fund. I know we were not supposed to use that word, Bernadette. Wasn't that you that didn't like the word pilots? But we had a little pilot going on youth pilot. And when she called, I was able to go, I think we have just the perfect match for that. So we ended up with 8 interns over the course of 2 summers there. And here's the cool thing for that. 5 of those have stayed and are still working there. 3 of them as long ago as almost 18 months now. So kids only know what they know. If you've heard me talk about this, you'll hear me say that all the time. And when they don't understand manufacturing, being able to go into a manufacturing environment, seeing that it was totally different from what they'd ever dreamed that it was, and then to be able to be part of the process. And I think that was the thing through the summer camps that was so important, because seeing the process from start to finish, where young people came in really sort of clueless, and then quickly being put part of a team with your staff that they were dedicating not only time away from their normal duties, they were also committing, we didn't mention part of this was on a weekend, so it was extra time as well. And to be part of that team and to be able to come up with the success stories that they were able to. And the day that they did their presentations, I think we were all proud parents on that day because it was just totally incredible to see young people using terms and manufacturing words that they'd never even heard of maybe 5 days before that all started. So it was just that practical aspect of it. The power of internships is just great. So we are so thrilled that will be entering another season for that. Again, the company having skin in the game made a huge difference to us from the public workforce standpoint. We're glad to be able to put money with that when we know that together we're going to be able to see the results of that. The other thing that I would mention, and then I think my 30 seconds is up. The other thing that I would mention is that the cool thing from working with McNetty has been that this has now really grown regional. So we're taking that plan that started in Giles County, and I believe now we're spreading that to 6 other counties because that's where the workforce comes from. It's not just folks in one community, so it's really a regional approach. And the ability to get that principles of manufacturing back into all the school systems and then also growing it into 4 different, some of them as many as 4 different pathways. So that's been a real plus.
One more thing. And that's true alignment. I mean, that's taking our need as industry in a 10-county region that Jan is speaking about, and that's truly aligning to what we're looking at. And we kind of had a unique situation in our area because we had a manufacturing site that had been there since 1964. So it did have the myth of very dirty welding fumes in the air, fluids on the floor, but we came in and completely rebuilt that manufacturing into the new wave. So, that was important because we had people in the community that probably had a conversation with their kids at the dinner table, and you don't want to work at that plant, So we had to also dispel that myth. And it was our job as industry to do that. And when I sat and I looked at my CEO and I said, yes, we can get the jobs. It's no problem. And, fortunately, we've been able to fill every position. We've got 800 more to go. And as Jan said, that's the reason why we kind of expanded out regionally. But we kind of hope this thing takes off and we can be the pioneer of a true industry and education partnership. And with the data, if we get good data to make decisions, then maybe we can make those alignments in advance instead of trying to make them in the rear. Because that's really the key that we need to get to. All right.
Great, thanks. Jamie's going to talk about some of the great educational opportunities that the governor has come up with. And are you going to talk about all of them? Take it away.
Yeah. Thanks for having us here. I actually feel like I don't have to talk for all that long because what you've heard here today is exactly what we need to see more of across our state. As many of you know, you've heard about the Drive to 55 before it was cool. These people are the work that are doing the work of the Drive to 55 before we even gave it a name or the governor called it what it is. Just to be clear, as you know, we are trying to get to 55% of Tennesseans having a degree, a certificate, or higher by 2025. If we don't do anything, we'll hit 39% by 2025, and currently we sit at 33% of Tennesseans holding an associate's degree or higher. When we talk about workforce, we as a state, while you hear a lot of good things about our workforce here, the reality is, and I just want to keep us couched in the data, we sit at, if you rank all the states in terms of educational attainment, we sit at 42nd. So we have a lot of work to do, but it's these partnerships that you hear about today that are exactly the direction we need to head. I think if you ask the governor, he'll tell you we at the state have data, but we don't really know at the regional level what the needs are. So it's so exciting to see these partnerships because these are the real people on the ground who know we need more workers in this area. I'm a business, I need workers, and this is exactly how I need them to be trained, and here's a community college that can train them in that work. So we as a state want to incentivize more of these partnerships. And I'm glad Leader Norris is here because he is the author of an initiative called LEAP. And I think Ted Townsend actually got it wrong, said the order wrong. It's Labor and Education Alignment Program. He flipped the A and the E. But this is an initiative that Leader Norris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the idea was the governor went around in 2012. He traveled the state in 2012, was in Memphis, but was in many different regions across the state, and over again heard on this tour that involved industry and higher education and K-12, over and over again heard, we just don't have the workforce we need. The soft skills are missing. We not only need to prepare for our workforce now, but are we actually thinking about what we're doing in the future? And so from that, and actually one of my favorites was in Memphis, where I believe it was FedEx was sitting across the table from a community college, and FedEx said something along, was it these people? Oh, okay. Was sitting across the table from basically saying, I need this type of worker. And the community college at the time said, well, we'd be happy to provide that worker to you. Let's get together. Let's have a program. And the gentleman responded, that's great, and I want to work with you to get this program off the ground, but it shouldn't take the governor coming here in order for us to have this conversation. And so it was just kind of eye-opening, and through that, Leader Norris created the Labor Education Alignment Program. It was a piece of legislation that passed in 2013. It since has turned into, and I can give you kind of an update on where we are with that, but the state and the legislature, the governor requested and the legislature approved putting $10 million in the budget in 2014. They passed it to fund LEAP initiatives. And what that means is let's get regional collaboratives together. Let them tell us what they need, because at the state, again, we have an idea based on data, but they know the real needs. Let them apply for this $10 million pot of money. There's some people sitting up here who are eager to know if they've won, or but we actually had, I believe, 33 regional collaboratives across the state apply for this money. They could apply for up to $1 million. And so I believe the notices of intent or the actual applications are coming in November 17th. We'll go through the whole process of looking at them, reviewing them. I'm sure there's people in this audience who've applied for that. And then we'll allocate the dollars based on the best applications we have. We want to do more of that work. We want to do more to incentivize all that you've heard here today. And it's just very neat to sit with all of you up here and hear the incredible work that you're doing, and encourage you all to, communication is key to all of this. That's what we know. That was a big thing that came out of our tour in 2012. You have to be talking to each other. Business needs to talk to community colleges, higher education, and the more we can partner together, the more we can move from this 33%, which places us at 42nd, to where we need to be in the future. And so I'll leave it at that.
Very good.